Let's talk about JavaScript data types. As you can see on our screen, I have an image depicting data types in JavaScript. Broadly, we have two data types. We have the primitive data types. We have the object data types. For our primitive, we have the numeric type, and then we have the non-numeric type. And then for our object, you can see we have object, array, function, dates, regular expression, set, map. We're going to be looking at this. We're going to be looking at some of their behaviors. I should tell you, this is not exhaustive exploration of these data types, but we're going to do our bit to explore some of their behaviors across our program flow. Okay, so here in my Visual Studio Code, I have an empty script tag. My index.html have added this image which I showed you earlier. I got this image on the internet. See, I've commented out this. This was what we have in the previous session. So I'm loading this image which I have in my asset folder. I'm loading it with the script img tag. Okay, and then that is what is being displayed in the browser here. So we're going to look at this one after the other. It's not going to be exhaustive, I've told you, but we're going to explore a bit. Let's start with number, which is a numeric primitive type. Let me go to my Visual Studio Code here. In JavaScript, numbers are represented with 64-bit floating points, IEEE 754 standard. Now, the implication of that is usually JavaScript can accurately represent integer or number type between digits of 15 to 16 digits accurately. Okay. Beyond that, things get can get quite tricky. So I'm sorry, guys. I think I'm kind of hungry. I don't know. So if you look at this chart, we have a big int. It turns out the big int type was designed to compensate for the limitation of the regular number, which is the integer, and then the float. Okay, but let's get into it. I can do console.log typeof. Typeof is an operator in JavaScript that we use to check for data type. Okay, so if I do typeof 45, for instance, then in my console I should get number. Okay, so typeof 45 is number, and number is the broad class of the numeric numeric data type. So even if I did 4.5, which is decimal floating point number, I'm still going to get number here. Okay, good. So I could do, there's several things we can do in number. I don't want to do it too long. I can do let x equals 5. Then I can do console.log plus x. See what we get. I get 6. So the plus x is incrementing 5. So it's adding 1 to 5. Okay, this is like a shorthand form of it. I could have done something like let y, oh, let y equals, okay, let x equals to, we can reassign x, so I could have done x equals to x plus 1. Then if I do console.log x, I still get 6. So I get 6 here. That works. Okay. That's for our number. I don't want us to dwell too long on it. There are other things I could have done, but then let's just stop at that. Let's go to the big int type. Or let me show you this. If I do const hex equals to number dot max safe integer, okay, then I can do console.log x. This should give us, if you count this, it should like 16 digits. So it's like the maximum safe integer we could get in JavaScript. So if we do the minimum, we use the mean, this gives us a negative number like that. So beyond 16 digits, things get funny. So if I do this, const x equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, okay? And then I do const y equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Then if I do console.log x equals y, let's see what we get. We get true. Okay, JavaScript is telling us y is equals to, even if I do street comparison, let's see what I get there. I'm still getting true, even with the street comparison. And then when you look at it, JavaScript is saying true with respect to the number of integers we have here, the number of digits. So 1, 2, 3, 10, 17, 18. So we have 18 digits each for x and y. So it's saying x is equals to y. But then the value of x, we see this ends with 8 and this ends with 9. So the values are not the same, but the digits are the same. So if you're doing some kind of calculation, this is not going to give you the correct outputs. Okay. So the way JavaScript tries to fix this is to use this data type known as big ints. Okay, so beyond 15 and 16 digits. So the way we do that is to do this thing where we append a suffix n. So with the suffix n, that way if I now do console.x equals to y, I'm going to get false. See, getting false because I'm using the big ints now. It's giving me the accurate value of my digits. I don't have to use the suffix n if I don't want to. I could call the big int constructor. So I'll just call the big int constructor, and then I'll pass the value inside a string like this. See, I've removed the n suffix. So this should still give me false. So this is false. It's capturing the value accurately. Okay. Let's talk about string. String text or characters enclosed in a single or double quotes. Okay. If I do console.log type of hello, I should get string. So that's string. That works. Okay. There are some. Okay, let me do this. If I do console.log first line, I can have a special character here, new line. Then I do second line. Let's see what we get. Pay attention to this new line, special character. So I'm getting first line, second line. So the new line, it's breaking this into two lines. Okay, I can also do hello. Then I can use tab here, tab. Then I can do word, hello world. Okay, then if I save this, see hello world. So again, that special character \t is tab, like when you press tab on your computer. Okay, there are other things I can do. We could do what is it called now? Okay, say we say we can represent string in single quotes as well. So if I say I am human. Okay, this works. I get I am human. So let's say I try to do the shortened form of I am. Say I'm trying to do I am. See, my ID is squawking, it's complaining already. That's because, well, the JavaScript linter here is looking at this and it's assuming that this apostrophe that I have here is the end of my string. So it doesn't know how to account for the remaining characters here. So the way we overcome this with single quote is to escape this apostrophe with the backslash, like this. And then this works. See, I'm human, like that. Okay? We could also do concatenation. So we have two strings. You have const s1 is equals to hello. Then const s2 is equals to word, like this. Then I can do console.log s1, okay, plus, this is string concatenation. I want to space it a bit so I can have an empty string here. Okay, spaced out. Then I have plus sign. Then I have s2, should be s2, like that. Okay, so this string concatenation, then I have hello world. This works. Okay, I can also use this more convenient one known as a template string for interpolating our two strings. So I can do this. I can do backticks. Okay, and then the first value, which is s1, then I give a space, then I do the second value s2, like that, and then I get hello world. This works. Okay, now I can also call methods on each of these strings. I can do to uppercase, for instance, to uppercase, and then this one to uppercase. Use this convenience to uppercase, and then here I get hello world. Now you might be wondering, how am I able to call a method on a primitive? I mean, here it says string is non-numeric primitive data type, not an object. So what is going on here is this thing known as boxing. Boxing, like box. So The JavaScript is wrapping the primitive type string around object, allowing us to call some properties on the primitive type so that it behaves like an object for a minute, but then the interpreter still interprets it as string. If you know what I mean, if you understand what I'm saying. So the idea of boxing is just to make working with strings more convenient, if that makes sense. So don't get it twisted. Us calling to uppercase or to lowercase, whatever the case may be, with primitive doesn't make the primitive object. It's just boxing. That's the idea behind it. Okay. Let's look at what else do we have. We have Boolean. Usually our Boolean, they shine when we are doing logical operation or comparison operation. Like if I say 3 is greater than 2, obviously that's true. Okay, so that gives us true. If I say 3 is greater than 5, that gives us false. Okay. If I come here and then I say, let me write, if I say if 1 plus 2 is equals to 3, okay, I can say const value is equals to true. Okay, then I can do, no, I don't want to do value equals to true. I can just do console.log true. Okay, so if 1 is equals to 2, if this condition is true, I want to log true the console. So otherwise, we can do console.log false. Of course, 1 plus 2 is 3, so we're going to get true. Okay, good. If I say 1 plus 2 is equals to 2, I don't know. So this is going to give us false. See? So that's where Boolean comes into it. So you check for a condition, the condition if it returns true or false. That's where Boolean. So Boolean is a true or false values. Okay. Let's look at null. Null and undefined, they are special values in JavaScript. If I do this, console.log null is equals to undefined. Let's see what we get. I get true. Yeah, true, because in JavaScript looked at null and undefined as two special types. But they're not quite the same. Let me show you why they're not quite the same. If we define a variable with var or let keyword, if I say let greet, I have not initialized this, I have not assigned any value to greet. JavaScript assigns the special value undefined to greet. That way, if I do console.log greet, I get undefined. See, I get undefined. I do not get null. I get undefined. Okay, so undefined is special value. Okay, good. Now, for the null, you see, I do not have to explicitly set greet to undefined for me to get undefined. But for null, you set null. You set a value. You set a variable to null. Okay, there are some languages where these things are handled properly. In that, for instance, you have this thing known as null safety, where no variable can be null. We have to do this thing known as null type check. Okay, so that we don't run this null pointer error. But in JavaScript, if you want a variable to be null, you have to explicitly set it to be null. Meaning, okay, you want this thing to be null first, and then you're going to assign a value to it later. So what I'm saying is, if you do this, you can say let greet equals null. Okay, so at this point, greet is null. Okay, so that if you now say console.log greet, you get a null. Okay, then you can say greet is equals to hello. Now I'm assigning it, so I'm getting hello now. Okay, if I set greet to null in my program, for instance, so I say greet to null, and then maybe I've programmed like thousands of code, I don't know, and then I want to know what, maybe I'm not quite getting my value of greet. I could say if greet, this is debugging now, if it's not equals to null, console.log greet is not null, else console.log greet is null. Okay, now pay attention. We set greet to null. Let's see what we get. So greet is null. So we have set greet to null. So which means we have not really assigned our value to greet. It's still set at null. Now some people say null is a reference to an empty object. Well, everyone to his own opinion. And the reason they're saying that is this. Let me show you. If I do console.log type of null, let's see what we get. We get objects. How are we getting objects? Here it said null is primitive data type. It's not object. But now we're getting objects. Why? So it turns out this behavior, null having a type of object, it's a legacy bug in JavaScript. Have that in the back of your mind. It's a legacy bug in JavaScript. Even if someone told you that, oh, logically it points to an empty, it points to an empty object. Still have it at the back of your mind that it's the bug, and it's been tried to fix. But it was said if they try to fix it, it could break the web or something like that. So if you want to check for null, what you can do is this. You can do const my var is equals to null. Okay, then I say if my var is equals to null, console.log my var is null. Okay, else console.log my var is not null. But we set my var to null, so we're using this if statement, this logical operation to check whether my var is null. But pay attention, it was set to null here. So if this condition is true, we get this. Otherwise, it defaults to the hex block. So what do we have? We have null and it's null. And null was set to var, so that value null. So my var was set to null, so that value null is being captured here. Null is null because my var is actually null. So this is how you check for null in JavaScript. Okay, so if you use type of, you might be confused. Okay, let's move over to symbol. Let's move on to symbol. Symbols const, const sim is equals to symbol, like this. Then I can pass a key inside, say user ID, like that. Then if I do console.log type of symbol, what do I get? I get symbol. Okay, so symbols were introduced. So if we symbol is a way to have a unique identifier inside JavaScript objects, so that we don't run into this thing known as property collision. So if you have a symbol inside, we've not gotten to object, so I don't want to jump the gun, but I'm just going to explain. If you have a symbol inside an object as a property, for instance, that symbol is a unique identifier inside that object. You need a unique method to actually fetch it. And it works like that so that we don't run into property collision, which sometimes occur when we're working with JavaScript objects. Okay, so we can okay. I said I don't want to jump the gun, but the way for me to explain this is to delve into object a bit. So I do x1 is symbol, and I say user ID, okay, then const s2 is symbol, unique ID, okay. What do we have here? Then I can do const person is equals to. Now I'm trying to use the symbol inside. This is JavaScript object literal. In JavaScript object literal, we can use symbol as our key. Actually, we can use symbol and string. Those two can be used as key inside our JavaScript objects. So if I intend to represent this inside this, I'm going to use a special syntax, S1. See? Then I can set it 1, 2, 3. Okay. S2. Okay. Let's say I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Okay. Then I don't know. Let's see what we get. Console.log person. What do we get? We get symbol. Okay, like that. We get the two symbols: user ID 1, 2, 3, unique ID 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. I think there's a method one could call here. If I say console.log object dot get own property descriptor, does it work? If I put person here, let's see what we get. Undefined. If I put descriptors here, does it work? Okay, good. Now here, I'm getting the symbol, the key. Okay, so the first one is here, unique ID, and then this is a value. Okay, unique ID, this is a value. What the point I'm trying to make is, if I try to if I try to like loop over this, the way we loop over objects, I'm not going to be able to get this value. And I can show you. You see, I'm using special method known as getOwnProperties descriptors. Okay, I can even use getOwnProperty symbols. I think symbols. Let's see. See, aha. See what I'm getting? I'm getting the key. The first key is user ID. The second key is unique ID. Okay. What I'm trying to say is, if I try to like loop through this, for instance, I'm not going to be able to do that, and I'm not going to do it now because I think after this it's object. So let's go into JavaScript objects. In JavaScript objects, our keys are restricted to two types of two non-numeric data types, which is string, which are string and symbol. Okay, so in JavaScript objects, if you try to use another data type to represent your key in your property, the JavaScript interpreter just interprets it as string. And I'm going to show you that. But first, let's have an object literally. If I do const object equals to empty object, then I do console.log type of object. Obviously, we should get objects. Okay, so this is objects. Now pay attention to this. If I do console.log object dot to string, this is an empty object. I want you to pay attention here. It's an empty object, and I'm calling to string on an empty object. Ideally, you would think this shouldn't work. Now let's see. I'm getting objects. So why is this working? Well, it turns out that objects in JavaScript, they have another object known as prototype. Okay? Like every object inherits from that object prototype. So if you call a method on an object and that method is not there, well, JavaScript defaults to the prototype to check for the property of that object in that prototype. If it doesn't find it there, it looks for the prototype of the prototype, like that. So this is not magic, so to speak. It's just the way the language works. Every object inherits from a prototype object. Is what I'm able to call to string on this empty object. Okay? Good. I can try to populate this object. I can populate. The other time we said for our object, our keys can only be string or symbol, like that. Okay. If I try to violate this, say I just do this, then I say hola, then I say gender, male. You see, instead of setting the key to be string, I'm just writing it as if it's a variable somewhere. Now look at what is going to happen. If I do console.log object see, I get name, blah blah. So you see gender, name, blah blah. Okay, it's not really giving me what I want, but let me try to loop through this. For instance, if I say for const key in objects, okay, key object, and I'll say console.log. Okay, type of key. See, this is the key, this is the value. Key, value, together they make properties. Okay, so I'll say for const key in object, console.log the type of key. Let's see what we get. So I'm getting string. Even though I didn't explicitly represent this as string, is the interpreter is interpreting it as string. That's one of the limitations of objects. Okay, good. Now, if I set symbol here, I'm coming. If I set symbol here, say const, if I say user ID is equals to symbol, and then I set the key to user ID like that, and then I pass this symbol here. Don't forget with the keys can only be string or symbol. Okay, so this is a symbol here. This is how we define a symbol. Okay, we call it symbol constructor, and then we pass a string inside of it. Okay, now if I were to pass it here, I can't just do user ID and then I say 1, 2, 3. This is not going to work. So the way I do it is to enclose this inside a square bracket like this. Okay, now if I, okay, let's see this. Let's see whether this works like this. What do we have? See, it's not logging the type of key that is peculiar to our symbol here. It's only getting these two. That's because in JavaScript, when you have symbol inside an object and you're looping through, because symbol is a unique identifier, you are not going to get the property. You're not going to get that property. You're not going to be able to get the key nor the value. In fact, let me be more explicit with this loop. I can do it the old-fashioned way. If I say for const key in object, now you say if object dot has own property, has own property dot call, then here I can call object key. Now let me set the value here. Const value equals object key. Okay, and I can say console.log key value. Let's see what we get here. So we're getting name, Ola, gender, male. You see, it's not even touching the user ID at all. Like we said, the symbol is a unique identifier. Okay? So if you want to get this user ID, you can just do console.log object. Then you have user ID here. Then you're going to get that 1, 2, 3 in the console. Okay. Okay, let me leave it at that. Let me leave it like that. We might come back to this later on, but let me leave it like that. Let me not complicate things. So let's talk about array. For our array, I can do const fruits, for instance, and then I can have banana, guava, pawpaw, like that. So if I do console.log fruits, I'm getting everything in the console. Okay, so that's what we have. If I do console.log type of fruits, I should get objects. So I'm getting objects. Okay, so this is how consistent. Okay, array, in a array we have index. So the banana, so in any array, some programming language they call them list. In Python, for instance, arrays are known as list, but the index always begins from 0. So banana has 0 index, guava has 1, and this is 2. So we have 3 indexes from 0 to 2. So if I do console.log fruits index 0, for instance, this is going to give me banana. Okay, if I do for 1, this gives us guava. Okay, I can also push a new item into this array by doing fruits dot push. Okay, so I can do orange. Okay, can do orange. So if I now do console.log fruits, orange is added here. So it's now we have 4: banana, guava, purple, orange. Okay, I can try to look through what we have here. I can say for const key in fruits. Hope this English is correct. Console.log key and then fruits key. Oh, we don't use key in array, we use index. I'm sorry. So this is index. So this should be index. Key is what we use in objects. Index. Okay. Let's see whether this outputs something. Okay, so we have first index banana, second index guava, like that. We've not done for loop yet. We're going to have another course on loops, but let me just show you this. And now we can do this for let hi is equals to 0, hi less than fruits dot length. Okay, and hi plus plus. So now we're looping through array. Then you can see console.log hi. Then you can do fruits hi. That works. Let's see what we get. Okay, so it's working. For our index 0, we have banana. Index 1, we have guava. Index 2, we have purple. Index 3, we have orange. Okay. Let's leave it at that. Let's go to function. We have the traditional way of defining function is this. Use the function keyword. Okay, you have a function name, I don't know, say hi, and then you have a pair of parentheses, and then you have a curly braces here, curly bracket. Okay, then whatever you want to do inside this function, if I pass a variable here, say greet, no, let's not do that yet. Let me just do console.log hi. Okay? If I save this, I go to the console, nothing happens. And nothing happens because where I've just defined the function, I've not done anything with it. So the way to do something with it is to evoke it, known as function call. So you invoke a function by writing the function name and then a pair of parentheses like this. So if you do this, whatever you ask the function to do, it's going to do it as defined by you. So we're getting high here. Okay. Now we don't have to necessarily log this yet. We can pass a variable here, greet. Okay. And then inside here, rather than logging a value, we can do return greet. Okay. So when this function returns, whatever so whatever we pass here, okay, let me do this. Let me show you. This is not going to work. See, nothing. It's nothing because, well, this function is taking a variable, okay, which is a parameter, greet, and it's expecting an argument here. But I'm not giving it the argument. What's the value of greet? I've not set it. So here I can do hi. This is still not going to work. You see, nothing. And the reason why it's not working is because where this function is returning greet, the value of this input greet is returning it, and I'm evoking it here, but I'm not actually asking JavaScript to log it to the console. So the way I do that is to wrap this around the console.log function. So I can do console.log, then I paste this in. This should work now. See, I get high. Okay. Now let's go back to just defining it like this, and then just logging it to the console, logging high to the console like we did earlier. Now, functions are hoisted in JavaScript. Functions declared with the function keyword are hoisted in JavaScript, hoisted to the top of the scope. So as it is now, the other time we invoke function down here, we invoke say I here, and it worked. Okay, you see it works. Good. Now if I do this, if I took this to the top of function, let's see, it still works. And the reason why it works is because this function, even though I'm invoking it here, prior to me defining it, the JavaScript engine sees this. It sees the function keyword. Okay, the function keyword is global. Okay, fine. Then it hoists this function definition to the top of the scope. It takes it up, and then it calls this later. That's why this is happening. Okay. If this is known as function expression. Okay, this is known as function expression. If I do function statement, don't worry, we're going to do function later. If I do let's say I, now say hi, okay, say hi is equals to function. Then in here I'm saying console.log hi. Okay, here I can call say I, and then it works. I get high. Okay, if I try to do what we did with function expression the other time, let's see. Aha, you see uncaught reference error, cannot access say I before initialization. Good. Now the takeaway is when we do function statements, we cannot hoist the function. But when we do function expression defined with the function keyword, we can hoist it. Okay? We don't have to even use function here. There's a new exec syntax that we can do like this. It will still work, but here we're not invoking it here. Pay attention to what I'm doing. I'm using the function variable name here to evoke it. Okay? So let's see. It still works. We get hi. Okay? I don't want us to dwell too long on function. We can also pass, let's say, function square. And then we can pass x here. Okay? We can pass x here. And then here I can say return x multiplied by x. Okay? And then here I can do console.log square. If I pass 3 here. Okay, so this is a function statement. It's taking this parameter x, which is an input. Okay, so we're returning x multiplied by x, and here we're logging the value. We're evoking this function square. We're passing parameter 3 into it, and then we're logging the value to the console. Let's see what we get. We get 9, as we should, because 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. Okay, so let's just stop there with functions. Let's go to date. We can call the date constructor console.log new date. That's the date constructor. So this should give us the date of today. See, if we wanted a year, we can just do get full year. See, 2026. Good. So let's talk about regular expression. For regular expression, they are used to match patterns or in string data. That's what regular expressions are for. In JavaScript, anyway, it used to match patterns in string data. So if you have, I can have const reg, and then I can do, so there are 2 ways. We use 2 forward slashes, and then whatever we have here. That's one way of defining regular expression. Another way is I can do const reg1, and then I can call the regular expression constructor. Then inside it is a string, and say word. So here I have 2 forward slashes. Here no forward slashes, just regular expression constructor. Then if I do console.log reg and console.log reg1, see what we have. We have okay, hello, LOL. So this is a regular expression. Okay, we can call test. There's a test method we can call a test. Let's see. And then here I can do ABC. Okay, and then here I can do dot test. Whoa. Okay, let's see what we get here. The first one returns false, the second one returns true. And I'm going to explain what is happening here. When we use test, whatever we pass inside this string in this parenthesis, we're saying, okay, look at what we have inside this string and see whether it matches with the pattern inside reg. And reg is hello. So we have ABC. Obviously, this pattern, it doesn't match with what we have here. So we're getting false. The second one is okay. Test, use what we have here inside this string, inside the parenthesis, to check whether it matches with what we have in reg 1, which is word. It matches. So we're getting true. Okay? Good. So that's one way of looking at it. There are other ways. If you have, for instance, you can have console.log. Let me see, correct, 0, 1. Then I can do dot test. Then I can have, okay, I can have, I want everything to be binary. Let's see what we get here. Let's see what we get. We're getting false. Okay, so what this is saying is this pattern we have here, this correct is saying, look at here, only return true, okay, if none of this matches here, matches the pattern here, okay, only return true, but everything matches here, so we're getting false. If I change this to, instead of correct, if I change this to asterisk, oh, it's not quite working. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm on Mac. Oh, this is true. Good. So asterisk is saying, okay, fine. With this asterisk saying, okay, fine. Return true if this matches with this. You get the idea. Is the contrast of the other one when we use correct. There are other things we can do in regular expression, but it's not an exhaustive course in regular expression. We're just playing around some of these data types. Okay, so we go to set. The way we define set, const s is, I think we use new set, if I'm not mistaken. New set. That way, if you do console.log type of s, what do we get? We get objects. Okay, so set is object. So the type of object, type of set, type of s, which is set, is this. We can do this. We can assign values to our set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now let me see. If I do console.log, I don't know if this is going to work. S0. I have no idea. Let me see. Undefined. So that's not working. I was hoping I could access the indexes of this set. So in set, we use set for definite. Okay, what I'm trying to say is this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I duplicate this, 2, 3, 3 again. Okay, then I do console.log s. Let's see what we get. No duplication. See, 1, 2. So it's definite. The numbers are represented as definite values. We can't have all the duplicates are not represented in sets. So all the numbers are definite, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, even though we duplicated them here. So this is what set does for us. Okay, let's go to map. If we already have JavaScript objects, perhaps the question might have come to mind. If we already have JavaScript objects, why do we have JavaScript map? Again, why do we need JavaScript map? JavaScript map was, it came out in ES6. Okay, I think that's ECMAScript 2015. Maps came to address the limitations of JavaScript objects in the sense that maps allows us to manage data efficiently compared to objects. In object, we said that our key, I've showed you that earlier, our key can either be string or symbol. In maps, our string can be any data type. You see that is more robust than objects. Okay? Let's write some code. So we say const map is equals to new map. So this is how we define our map. Then I say console.log. No, onto the type of map. Let's see what we get. So that's objects. That works. Good. So if we want to assign values to map, we use what is known as sets. So I can do map.sets. Okay. Our key first. Hola. Squawking here. Name. Okay, don't worry about that behavior. Then I can do console.log map now. Now I've assigned value to it. Map. Oh. What do we have? So we have Ola, name Ola. Okay, name is the key. Ola is the value. Okay. Something came to mind. What is that? Okay, let's have two maps. Let's have okay, if I do map dot set gender, then I have male here. I can do console.log map.get. Then I pass the key here. Say I want to do gender. Let's say male. Okay, so that's another method we can use get to get our value in a map by passing the key. So if I change this to name now, I should get Ola. Ola, good. Now, we said that in map, we can use any data type as object. I'm going to show you that. So if I have new map, then I can do const, I want to declare our keys now, const function. So this function returns an empty object. Okay, then I can have const array. Let's say this returns an array of 1, 2. No, let me return an empty array as well. And then I can do const object, and then returns an empty object like this. Okay, now let me set our map using these keys. Okay, so the way I do that is to do map. Remember, the name of the map is map. Okay, it's an instance of this map constant. Here we are declaring our keys that we intend to use when we set this map. Okay, so the way we set the map is to do map dot set. Okay, the first parameter is our key. So if I do for function, then I can do hello function as a value. Okay, so this is how we assign properties to our map using the set method. The first argument is the key. This is showing us that our map, we can use any data type. Now look at this, you see const fn is a function. It's a function statement. Okay, so I'm setting it here. I can still do map dot set. Okay, then array, which is my key, and then for the second one, for the value, I can do 1 2 3 4 5 like that. Then I can also do map dot set my object, which is our key, and then for the value I can do, maybe I do id is 1 2 3. Oh, id is 1. I think I've used 1 2 3. Okay, like that. This is what we have. If I do console.log map, let's see what we get. Okay, so we have our map now. You see, the first property, the key is function. The value is hello function. Second property, the key is an empty array. The value is this. Let me expand this. See, the key, the first one, the key is it's an empty function that points to an empty function, okay, which returns an empty object literal. The value is a string known as hello function. The second property, the key is an empty array. The value is an array that comprises values. And then the third property, the key is empty object. The value is this object with the property ID. See, like that. Much like we loop in JavaScript object, we can also loop in map. So I can do for const key value of map. Okay, so it's actually quite easy here. You know, just console.log key value. Let's see what we get. Okay, so you see, I think this is clearer compared to the other one we did. So for the first one, the key is this function. The value is a string known as hello function. The second one, we have an empty array as key, and then our value is this array comprising these values 1 2 3 4 5. And then the third property, the key is an empty object, and then the value is this object with the ID property. Okay, so that's what we have on the map. Well, for now we're going to stop here. In subsequent tutorials, we're going to be exploring in details more of the behaviors of these different data types. I hope you enjoy this. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.